Welcome to the Stochastic MLB DFS Strategy Show. I'm your host, Neil Orfield. You can find me on Twitter at PlayerQDFS. I'm here with Adam Scherer. You can find him on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. And this show is sponsored by Sorare MLB, which is a collection of digital trading cards and an NFT-based free-to-play baseball game. We'll talk about Sorare a little bit more later on. While you're coming in, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. Adam, how are you doing today? How was yesterday for you?
Doing pretty well. Yesterday wasn't great. Came close in PGA Showdown. Had a pretty good chance of winning with a couple holes to go, but Burns bogeyed a par 5. Dustin Johnson decided to hit one to the moon on a par 3 for some reason. So didn't work out, but came close.
How are your week-long or weekend-long PGA lineups doing?
Probably not great. I have a lot of Mito who is playing like shit.
I don't actually know how much Mito I have. I have a lot of Jason Day who is playing like shit, so that's kind of ruining. Yeah. I have a couple lineups that look like they're in the top 100, and I played a $5 buy-in, 15K to first contest, a much smaller one. But I have two lineups that have like a shot. They're in the top 100 right now, but they both have like multiple guys who I think are at risk. I want a Spieth who's currently not, I think, on track to make the cut. So not looking great for me. But what is great for me, Adam, is my softball team. We played one of the two teams that I think are like actually better than us last night, and we beat them. We had a walk-off hit. Yeah, we beat them 26-25. So it was a fun long game there. And as the pitcher, of course, I am the winning pitcher. Only gave up 25 runs, so very successful night for me. And Jake, no, Adam was not having any. I was running late. I woke up. I was already a little bit late because we went out and celebrated last night after the softball game for like, usually we go out for maybe an hour. We celebrated for at least 2.5 hours at the bar last night, and I was not feeling great this morning. And then I got up and I finally was like, okay, I got to go get my coffee. You know, I don't eat or drink anything an hour before a show, kind of a rule I have. Go down and I realized that I was out of coffee at home, so I had to run out and grab a coffee. So yeah, people, it's me, guys. I'm the reason we're usually late on this show. So
been there, done that, but yeah, it wasn't me today.
Yeah. All right. We should talk about this slate. We have 14 games to talk about here. The first game on the slate is Miami at Washington. Sandy Alcantara on the mound for the Marlins. Trevor Williams for the Nationals. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
Definitely interest in Alcantara. He's 9,100. He hasn't been as good this year as he was last year, but does still work deep into games. Does still, have good enough strikeout stuff. 20.6% strikeout percentage this year. 4.22 xFIP. You're getting a little bit of a discount on him though at 9,100. So still happy to get there against the Nats. We talk about them a lot, but one of the worst offenses in baseball in terms of production. Also a very difficult team to strike out, but with somebody like Alcantara, that's not as big of a concern, given that a lot of his DFS value does come from working deep in the games. Now, he is only pulling about 6% ownership. There are other pitchers that look quite a bit better. There is also some ownership that I think probably changes as the day goes on. Actually, quite a bit, the more that I look at it right now. But as a contrarian play, I think he looks decent given the good matchup at 9,100. As far as Williams goes, good matchup for him as well. Miami's been really bad offensively also. He is only 5,800, but I don't think you're going to need to get there too often. There's plenty of quality pitching on this slate. I would say he falls into the category, that we've seen recently with guys like Ranger Suarez and Matt Boyd and guys like that, where he's probably a little bit too cheap. Like he should be $800 more expensive or something, but you're probably also not really going to need him.
Okay. What's your level of interest in the bats here?
Not particularly high. Tough matchup for Washington, even with, Alcantara not being as good this year as he has in the past. They do offer some value, but they're third from the bottom in top stack percentage, 7% chance of being a top value stack. Miami's a little bit more appealing. We have them fifth in top stack percentage at 5%, 8% chance of being the top stack. 4.7 implied run total is unusually high for Miami. I think I'm a little bit lower on them than Vegas and the tools, but again, I use the tools. They're based off Vegas. So Miami looks fine. They are offering value. Trevor Williams is typically in his career has been much better against righties than lefties. So far this year, he hasn't been particularly good against anybody. 224 expected ISO to lefties, 241 to righties. He has struck out 23% of righties compared to 14% of lefties. So that's where you have continued to see him be better, but he's giving up power to both sides. So Jorge Soler looks like a good option. You have some pop with guys like De La Cruz, Sanchez, Cooper. Luis Arraez, obviously not a lot of power, but just a really, really, really good hitter at 4,500. So there is some appeal in going to the Miami side.
Is Luis Ariz going to hit 400 this year? I know he was on track at one point.
I mean, no, but he's probably going to hit like 340.
Yeah. All right. How would you rank the four sides of this game?
I mean, it's between Alcantara and Miami for 1 and 2. I guess Miami 1, Alcantara 2, just because there's other good pitching as well. Nats probably Williams probably 3, Nats 4. It's kind of a weird one. Like I think 1 and 2 are clearly some version of Miami, and then 3 and 4 are some version of Washington.
Okay. All right. Second game on this slate, we have St. Louis at New York. Miles Mikolas on the mound for the Cardinals. Tyler McGill for the Mets. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
Not much here. Mikolas not pulling any ownership. McGill not pulling any ownership. The prices are completely reasonable, but neither one's in a particularly good matchup. Both teams are pretty tough to strike out. It is a good pitcher's park. It is supposed to be around 70 degrees if for some reason, I don't know, like you're related to one of these guys and you're trying to find a reason to play them. But in the context of the slate, no real interest.
Okay. How about the bats here?
Not much to see there either. I mean, like I just said, not great hitting weather. It's not a great park for hitting. Neither pitcher is terrible, although McGill has been pretty bad this season. He was much better last season, but 189 expected ISO to righties for him, only a 16% K percentage, nearly a 380 expected WOBA, 176 expected ISO to lefties. So if you are going to offenses here, I would get to the St. Louis side first. But overall, I don't think either side looks that appealing. St. Louis is coming in 7th in top stack percentage, but also relatively expensive. So in terms of stack score, we have St. Louis in the basically middle of the pack. The Mets are slightly below them. So it's just two sort of middle of the road teams that on a 14-game slate, I don't anticipate getting much of.
Okay. How would you, rank the four sides of the game?
Pick them all out of a hat. Cardinals, Mets, Mikolas, McGill. Red Skittles asked if Miami's bullpen is taxed. Not really. They were off yesterday. They had 3 relievers pitch Wednesday. None of them threw more than 20 pitches. They should be fine.
Okay. All right. Third game on the slate, we have New York at Boston. Domingo Germán on the mound for the Yankees. Tanner Houck for the Red Sox. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
Not particularly at their prices. They are both guys where you can sometimes make the case that they're solid plays, but 8,800 for Tanner Houck, not a bad matchup against the Yankees with no Aaron Judge, but still a nearly 5 implied run total for New York. 9,900 for Domingo Germán is egregious. I don't really know how that price tag happens. So yeah, no real interest in the pitching.
What about the bats?
Yeah, this game has a 10-run total. Wind blowing out a little bit, it looks like in Fenway, should be around 80 degrees. Really good hitter's park. And both pitchers are fine, but neither one is elite. Tanner Houck's big issue is typically with lefties. His expected ISO to lefties this year is 213. It's sub 100 to righties. That's obviously not to say that you can't play Stanton, Torres, Donaldson, but Jake Bauers is going to look good as a value option. Anthony Rizzo is going to look good at 4K. So like getting to those guys. On the other side, Boston, the slight favorites, 5.1 implied run total. Domingo Germán, so far this year, not surprisingly, giving up more power to lefties as well. 210 expected ISO there. And while Boston is better for right-handed home runs, giving up power to lefties against this Red Sox team is not ideal when you have Verdugo, Yoshida, Devers, Casas all from the left side. You have Adam Duvall back in this lineup now, obviously right-handed, but adds another power bat here. So the offenses are pretty appealing. Right now, we actually have the Yankees first in stack score because of how inexpensive they are. 6% chance of being the top stack, but also a 6.5% chance of being the top value. Boston, middle of the pack, 5% chance of being the top stack, but only a 1% chance of being the top value. So going to be a little bit more difficult to get to Boston from a salary standpoint, I think.
Okay. And how would you rank the four sides of this game?
So I would prefer getting to the Red Sox first, but because of salary, I don't know if that's going to be the case. So factoring salary in, I would go Yankees, Red Sox, Tanner Houck, and then Germán.
Okay.
And Houck just because he's 1,100 less than Germán.
All right. All right. Let's do another game here. Let's do Colorado at Atlanta is the next game up. Dinelson Lamet on the mound for the Rockies, Jared Schuster for the Braves. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
Hang on, I wanted to answer this question in chat. Mark Davis said he bought the Sims tool.
Okay.
And nothing happened. Did you put lineups in? Because
sounds like he did not. I think he just responded to somebody else. So maybe after this game, I'll pull up lineup generator and just show people what we're talking about.
Yeah, that works.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so this was the Atlanta Colorado game. Jared Schuster's coming in at 6,500. Reasonable value play going up against a weak Colorado offense. He's only getting 2% ownership, which I think tells me that you don't really need to pay down for pitching too much today. Although Rich Hill is pulling 13% at $200 more. I said, at the top of the show, there's a couple ownership numbers that I think are kind of wonky, and that would be one of them. I think Schuster's fine. I don't think you're going to end up seeing a 6-to-1 ownership discount between Hill and Schuster, but if you do, you shouldn't, and you should just turn some of that Hill into Schuster. He hasn't been very good so far in a limited sample size for the Braves, but solid matchup, projects as somebody that's going to be okay in the majors. So if you need to pay down there, I don't mind that. Going as far as Dinelson Lamet against the Braves, I am perfectly fine not going there.
Okay. How much interest in these offenses?
A lot. The Braves have a 6.5 implied run total. They are first in top stack percentage again. 12% chance of being the top stack. Next highest is the Angels at 8%. 12% aggregate ownership coming into Atlanta, but that's not overly concerning. I don't have the individual ownership in front of me at the moment, but I'm sure it's Ronald Acuna pulling a ton, and then the rest of the Braves being popular in general. One thing that I guess is worth mentioning, and we saw this happen yesterday, and it's different today with it being a 14-game slate instead of a 7-game slate, but it's kind of similar in that Atlanta is still far and away projected as the top stack. They have a 6.5 implied run total. Atlanta's ownership yesterday was absurd. Like, we projected them to be very popular, but 25-30% ownership projection on Acuna. He came in at 40% owned in the large field tournament on DraftKings. He was 50% owned in the $250 four max. He was 35% in the secondary, like $15 5K to first on DraftKings. So I think there is some risk. We've talked about it. Like last year, the thing was that if you saw the second or third highest team in top stack percentage being really under owned, there was a good chance that the field was going to adjust and ownership was going to come in higher. This year, and especially recently, it's kind of seemed like the top, if a team is sort of running away with it in terms of top stack, people are just jamming them in again. So I don't really know what the change is. I don't know if it's probably that, the field is the field's sharp and the field is sort of readjusted, recalibrated to the field being sharp and like not just jamming in the best plays. And now I think you do have people kind of going back to just jamming in the best plays. So that is something to be aware of, where I'm a little hesitant. Like we have right now, as far as Atlanta goes, we have Acuna at 21%, Albies at 14, Murphy at 14, nobody else higher than 10. A little concerned that, with a 6.5 implied run total, that 20 on Acuna becomes 30, the 14 on Albies becomes 20. But either way, it's a very, very good spot. And it is a 14-game slate, so raw ownership probably won't get that out of control, but I thought it was worth mentioning. On the other side for the Rockies, 4-run implied total is pretty high for them given how bad they are. Schuster, like I said, he's fine as a DFS play at that price, but he has also not been great in the majors. So I don't mind getting to some of these pretty inexpensive Colorado bats as secondary options.
How would you rank the four sides of the game?
Atlanta, either Colorado or Schuster, Lamet last.
I did not play this late last night because I had softball, and I think I regret it because I think I would have gotten to a lot of the Twins if I used the lineup generator. I know during my lineup generator VOD, I was getting to a ton of the Twins, and seemed like they did pretty well. Were they one of the top stacks yesterday?
They did well. I don't think I had a good amount, and I didn't have like any good Twins teams. I don't think they really mattered.
Okay.
The winning lineup in the big 50K to first, what the hell is this? Was just a random smattering of players. The second best lineup was Cleveland with 3 one-offs. Cleveland ended up being pretty useful. The Cubs actually had a big game. The White Sox hit 4 home runs, so they were useful.
Okay. The Twins had they had at least 8 runs the last I checked. It was on at the bar.
I think Solano was the only one that homered, though.
Okay. Yeah, I was one. Okay, so Solano was one that I think I was getting to the most of. I might be misremember. I know I was getting to a ton of Solano in the lineup because he was 2K first baseman. I mean, I guess the first baseman doesn't help, but he was 2K in like I think he was batting cleanup or something. So I was getting to a ton of him. So would have been nice to have. But anyway,
Yeah, I'm just clicking through my lineups right now. I think the Twins were my second highest owned team as far as stacks go, and I'm on 6. I don't. They're not in my top 7, 8. I don't think I have any twin. Yeah, I don't have any twin stacks in my top 10 teams from yesterday.
Okay. Jake DeWitt says Fry outscoring Solano didn't help. Okay, so we had another first baseman you needed.
I mean, nobody played Fry though.
Okay,
he was like less than 1% owned.
All right, let's take a little look at lineup trainer. Let's talk about the pre-sims contest, pre-contest sims a little bit, because I think that's a question that Mark might have. And it sounds like he did upload lineup, so I'm not sure what the issue is, but so in general, so if any of you have not used the pre-contest simulator yet, what you need to do is, first of all, you need to check the right site. So make sure if you're on DraftKings, you have DK selected, if it's FanDuel, have FanDuel selected. And then you do have to make sure you have the correct slate chosen as well. So typically, most people are probably using it for main, but whatever slate you want to play, you need to make sure you have that. And then, so I use Fantasy Cruncher to make my lineups. So typically what I'm trying to do is make 2,000 lineups that match what the field is going to do. So I'm not usually putting in my best line. And I think there's a lot of people who actually use this in many different ways. All that I've been doing so far, Adam, is just making 2,000 lineups that try to match the field. So like we have ownership projections, we have stack projections. I use those to craft my 2,000 lineups, and then I run those lineups against each other. And I'm still new at this too, but I think that is the general approach that is advisable to start. Probably be adjusting over time, but what you need to do is, so you make those lineups in Fantasy Cruncher or however you want to make them, export them to your CSV file, and then you just need to select that CSV, upload it here, and then run the contest simulator. And then it should only take like, I don't know, a minute at most, I think, to run the sims, and it's running 40,000, 50,000 sims. Then your lineups will pop up here. So I don't know if you maybe missed a step, Mark, but check it out.
Yeah, and I don't know if you mentioned it, but as far as the projections go, if you just don't click that, it's going to use hours. If you want to upload yours, it's a separate step. But at the very least, you have to input the lineups.
You are right. In my mind, the Twins were winning 8-4. I think the first time I saw it at the bar, I thought that I saw the Twins win, and then I didn't notice later, and then I forgot that the Tigers were actually winning that game.
The Twins got up 4. I'm remembering it now, because I had no idea what the final score even was when you said it originally. But I think the Twins got up 4-1. Solano hit like a 3-run homer early on, and then Matt Boyd just shut him down the rest of the time, and the Tigers came back.
Okay, yeah, that's right. I in my memory, it was the Twins were winning 8-4 pretty late in the game, and I saw that Solano hit a home run, and I was like, oh shit, I had so much Solano if I had played the slate. But then yeah, okay, you're right. So it was not a twin slate. All right, so that's generally how you're going to use the pre-contest simulator. Let's take a look at the post-contest simulator, since we're talking about that slate anyway. So you pull up the previous day. I'm going to look at the main slate here. Look at the relay throw, if I can find it. There we go. And then you can just see what came out. And you say it was just a bunch of one-offs in the winner?
Oh, wait, never mind.
Here, I'll look at actually the lineup.
The winner, was just random shit.
All right, yeah, here it is.
Washington, White Sox, Atlanta, Cleveland, Dodgers, White Sox again, Padres, Atlanta again.
Interesting lineup. Buffoon got up there at the top.
Yeah.
This C. Kaufman, or whatever the name is here. Yeah, C. Kaufman guy is peppering the leaderboard here. So I guess it was a good day for a bunch of one-offs. And then, of course, we can take a look at here. We third place had a great simulated ROI. So that's good to see when we see a good lineup near the top. Let's see what the top simulated ROI. Oh, so it was actually our top simulated ROI lineup ended up getting third in the lineup in the contest. So that's kind of cool to see. It obviously does not always work out that way, but cool to see that it worked out this time for Sean Smith. Zeroth up, man, he has been absolutely crushing it in terms of simulated ROI. I know he's been finishing near the top in some as well. Talapi up there again. A lot of common names up at the top here. Cool to see. Check out the lineup simulator if you haven't already. Of course, this is the post-contest simulator. I do think is useful, but I think the part that most people are excited about is being able to run your own contest level sims against each other, your lineups against each other Very cool tool. Nothing else like it in the industry. Check it out if you haven't already. It's a fantastic deal. It's $180 a month. You can also check it out if you just want to give it a try. It's just $60 a week. So it's the better deal. Obviously, if you're going to do it long term, choose it for a month. But you can also check it out for just a week if you just want to give it a shot. All right, we do have 14 games to get through, so I'll go back to the slate. Next game up, we've got Toronto at Texas. Kevin Gausman on the mound for Toronto, Martin Perez for Texas. What's your level of interest in these pitchers, Adam?
I mean, Gausman's really, really good. He also has a brutal matchup. It's very similar to the Ohtani spot yesterday. Gausman's 11-2, still pulling 24% ownership. And this is one where I'm a little bit surprised. We do have him as the top projected pitcher. He is really, really good. You still have a 4.2 implied run total here, though, for the Rangers. 120 WRC plus against right-handed pitching this year. Gausman's been excellent, striking out 33% of hitters, 2.73 xFIP. Again, very similar to Ohtani yesterday. Better run prevention numbers. It's not that I dislike Gausman. I'm just a little surprised and a little concerned that he's getting 24% ownership because we haven't gotten to these other pitchers. But like you have Zach Gallen against the Guardians for $1,000 less right now, getting 1/6 the ownership of Gausman. Either that's going to change or I want to just jam Zach Gallen over Gausman. Same goes for McClanahan at 11K, getting 1/4 the ownership of Gausman. So I do think Gausman's a good play here, but I will be paying attention to the ownership because the way it's coming in right now, when I'm paying up, I would rather be going to Gallen and McClanahan at a fraction of the ownership.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Gausman, really rough outing last time out, if I remember correctly. Obviously, that's not really important, but I remember playing a lot of them and seeing him get crushed. What's your level of interest in the bats in this game, Adam?
Toronto looks pretty good against Perez, 4.8 implied run total. Perez not the worst pitcher. He's typically good when he's on, at least, of keeping the ball in the park, not giving up a lot of power. But 177 expected ISO with only a 16% strikeout percentage to righties this year does set up nicely for a lineup that's going to be running out Springer, Bichette, Guerrero, Chapman, Kirk, Merrifield, Jansen. These guys all have power from the right side. So they look pretty good. They're also not that expensive. The only two guys on DraftKings north of 5K are Bichette and Guerrero. Springer is just shy at 4,900. But in their projected lineup, the 5 through 9 hitters are all 3,600 or less. Matt Chapman, cleanup, 4,300. Like, this isn't a very expensive team. They're third in top stack percentage at 6.5%, 3.5% chance of being the top value stack. So I do like Toronto quite a bit here when you factor in the upside and the relative value.
Okay. How would you rank the four sides of the game?
I think it's Blue Jays, Gausman, Rangers, Perez. The field right now, I guess, thinks it's Gausman, Blue Jays, which is fine. Like, Gausman's a good play. It's just, I think he's correctly priced and in a brutal matchup at 25% owned.
Okay. Sonny Gray got pulled after 4 innings. Looks like he gave up 3 hits and 4 walks. I'm trying to find his pitch count, and I'm for some reason missing it. But surprised, 79. Surprised the Twins pulled him so early. That's weird.
Yeah, I don't know what the Twins are doing with him.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Cincinnati at Houston. Andrew Abbott on the mound for the Reds. JP France for the Astros. Any interest in these pitchers?
France at 7K, I think, is okay if you need to pay down to that price range. Right now, we have him pulling 21% ownership, 11% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. If you look at all of the pitchers ahead of him in top 2 pitcher percentage, Yu Darvish is the cheapest at $1,100 more. Then it's Kopech at $2,300 more. So this looks like a spot where he's just going to be a useful play because of the salary. So far this year as a starter, striking out 20.5% of hitters with a 4.42 xFIP. I'm certainly not confident in this guy's ability to pitch in the major leagues. I had said a couple times this year that he's the type of player that's really, really difficult for me to gauge what to expect because he's just now getting to the majors at an advanced age, like 28, I think, off the top of my head. And he's put up good strikeout numbers in the minors. So it's like, okay, what took him so long to get here? Like, what didn't the Astros like about him that kept them from promoting him? So it's not. So then it becomes, like, well, is he going to just keep striking out a bunch of dudes in the majors, or was there a legitimate reason that they didn't promote him? So far, it's looked like whatever they were probably concerned about is still happening because his strikeout percentage has fallen off. He is giving up power, but At that price tag against the Reds, still a decent spot to get to him. Only a 3.7 implied run total. Abbott on the other side, tough matchup. He is a quality pitching prospect, but certainly has his work cut out for him here against the Astros at 7,100. He is not pulling any ownership. We have him with a 4.5% chance of being a top 2 pitcher compared to 10.5 for France. So not a spot where I'm looking to get to Abbott.
Okay. Ryan Park says, can we please get one home run pick right? This has been like a 3-day losing streak. I think we both 3 days ago, didn't we get both of our picks right? I feel like we did.
I know 2 days ago I took Acuna and he homered in 2 different games.
And also, like, you're gonna get your home run pick wrong most days. Like, batters aren't gonna home run. The best we ever see is like 40% chance of homering. So, I feel like we've been doing pretty well.
Yeah, so that's of all the critiques you could make, and I mean, I have no idea if that was tongue in cheek or not, but like of all the critiques you could make, we've definitely been running hot on home run picks this year.
Right. Anyway, what's your level of interest in the bats in the Cincinnati-Houston game?
Houston, looks pretty good. Abbott is good. Again, it's not like it's a great matchup, but you're still talking about a guy with a couple of major league games under his belt, and you're getting a dangerous Houston team. It does suck that Yordan Alvarez is out. It does weaken this lineup quite a bit, but it also makes them a little bit cheaper. Abreu seems to have gotten over whatever was wrong with him. He's hitting the ball well again. So Houston looks pretty good. In top stack tool, they're coming in middle of the pack in top stack percentage. Middle of the pack in stack score. So they look fine. Nothing I'm going out of my way to get to. Cincy is sort of interesting to me since France is getting so much ownership and Cincy's not owned at all. I kind of alluded to it when we were talking about France that I think he's a good DFS play today, but the guy has allowed a 260 expected ISO to right-handed hitters this year. Lefties sub 100, which is a really weird split, but he has given up power. You do have, Ellie De La Cruz, who will be hitting left-handed, but still is a monster. Spencer Steer's got power from the right side. Tyler Stevenson's got power. Matt McLean's been hitting well since coming up. The Reds are more expensive than I would like is the problem, but from a matchup standpoint, I actually don't hate the Reds. It's just that I don't think I'm going to be able to really pay these prices.
Okay. And how would you rank the 4 sides of the game?
France, Houston, Reds, Abbott.
Okay. Ryan says he was just busting our balls. He is correct that the other day I did take Vladdy, and did you take Royce Lewis this week? I don't know. I mean, we haven't got them all.
I know I took Gunnar and he did homer. I took Duvall. He did not homer. I took Acuna yesterday. He did not homer. Maybe I mean, it's possible. I think I took Royce Lewis, but I thought it was like a week ago or something.
Okay. Yeah. I have no idea. Anyway, he's just busting our balls. Okay. All right. Los Angeles at Kansas City. Patrick Sandoval on the mound for the Angels. Brady Singer for the Royals. What's your level of interest in these pitchers, Adam?
Singer at 6,100 is a spot where I think you could go either direction. He's only getting 1% ownership, and there's a couple reasons for that. One is that you have good pitching at the top. 2 is that you have Brian Wu at 5,400 for Seattle, who we haven't talked about yet, but he's going to get a lot of ownership as far as pay down options go. If you just want a 1% owned pitcher that's underpriced and not owned, Singer fits that. But this is, again, just a case of where like he should probably be 6,600 instead of 6,100. But that's not enough for me to be going out of my way to get to him. He has struggled this year. Looked like he was kind of taking steps forward in his career, but he's taken a huge step back this year. 20% strikeout percentage, 4.5 xFIP. I don't know if that Team USA World Baseball Classic stuff messed him up or what, but he's not been nearly as good as expected. But again, 4.5 xFIP, 20% strikeout percentage. That's not really a $6,100 pitcher, but on a 14 gamer, probably just not going to get there. Solid spot for Sandoval going against KC, but his strikeout numbers have been non-existent as well. 17% strikeout percentage, 4.5 xFIP. This was somebody that I thought was going to take a big step forward this year for the Angels. It hasn't. 4.4 implied run total. He also is not pulling any ownership. So no real interest here, even though it's 2 pitchers that from a talent standpoint, I think should just be a lot better than they are.
Sure. All right. What about the bats in this game?
Yeah, the bats are pretty interesting. 5.2 implied run total for the Angels. They are coming in second in top stack percentage behind Atlanta. They are slightly ahead of Atlanta in stack score, coming in second behind the Yankees. And like we just said, Singer still isn't horrible, but he certainly hasn't been good. And you have a lot of good hitters in this Angels lineup. 261 expected ISO to lefties this year, 161 to righties. Shohei Ohtani is going to look fantastic. Matt Tice is a value catcher option, is going to look pretty good. And then obviously any of Ward, Trout, Rendon, Drury, Renfroe are fine. Jared Walsh at close to min salary is fine as well. So the Angels are going to look pretty good. On the other side, Kansas City looks not as good, but still certainly playable. 4.4 implied run total. In terms of stack score, they are 11th from the top, similar to Houston. Sandwiched between Houston and Boston. So kind of the opposite type of play, where Houston and Boston, you are getting good hitters that you are happy to roster, but they're not really cheap. Kansas City, you're getting hitters that you're not really happy to roster, but they are cheap. So from a value standpoint, they're fine. Sandoval so far this season, not giving up any power to lefties, only 160 expected ISO to righties as well. His biggest problem this year has just been that he doesn't strike guys out anymore, but the power still hasn't been too much of a problem. So certainly like the Angels side more. From the KC side, I think, as usual, you're looking to Perez and Witt first, but they are both expensive. The problem the thing that's going to make me, hopefully at least, not get to as much KC as I normally do is normally I get there because it's like you get a really good catcher, a really high upside catcher option in Perez, you get a really high upside shortstop option in Witt, and then the rest of the lineup is free and some of it is actually talented. But the problem today is that the next two guys that like normally I want to roster are Prado and Melendez, both left-handed against a pitcher that's allowed a .058 expected ISO to lefties. That's not quite as appealing as when you're getting them against a righty. And then obviously also Pasquantino is out for the rest of the year.
Oh yeah, I forgot Pasquantino's out for that's rough. All right, how would you rank the four sides of this game?
Angels, KC, Singer, Sandoval.
I have a lot that I need to respond to in chat. First of all, somebody said that Mr. Nice Guy says, get out of here. Adam alone is like 70% lately. Yeah, you've been crushing your home run picks. I mean, from what I've seen, to be honest, I make my picks and then completely forget who I picked. He says, Neil, your home run picks are better when you don't use the top batters tool. I was doubting that until I saw Red Scuttle says Neil either uses the top batters tool or picks a twin. So that's true. The Twins just hit homers constantly when I pick them. So it might be true. I also wanted to say, first of all, I don't know why Danny Guzman got timed out. Danny Guzman being helpful here, and somehow Stream Elements timed him out. I have no idea what happened there. So sorry about that, Danny. I must be an automated thing. And then Beaten Cheeks, have to say, third in DraftKings MLB 60K last night, thanks to the lineup simulator. Thanks, guys. That is awesome to hear, Beaten Cheeks. And I told him to tweet to Stochastic Hall of Fame. He says that he's not eligible because the contest might be too small. They still love to see it. We always love to see the Sims tool working out. So even if you're not eligible, we love to see it. If you have Twitter,
give one small pushback on Danny Guzman's 4 steps here. You do not need CSV knowledge. You need to be able to read the words export and upload.
That is true.
Yeah, but other than that.
Yeah, he's just trying to be helpful. Danny also, I believe, has had success with the Sims already. He was messaging in one of our shows yesterday saying that I think he got top 3 in a contest 2 days ago or something. So been crushing it with the Sims tool. All right, just had to address that. Congrats, Beaten Cheeks. All right, next up we have Detroit at Minnesota. Tyler Alexander on the mound for the Tigers. Joe Ryan for the Twins. We going back to Twins pitcher against the Tigers?
Yeah, obviously it didn't work out yesterday with Gray, but happy to go back to Joe Ryan here. Another really good pitcher. So far this year, striking out 27% of hitters, 3.7 xFIP. Really good matchup. He's getting, like 33% ownership at 10.6. I don't have a huge problem with that. It's a pretty aggressive price tag, but on slates of this size, it's just so easy to find value bats. Like even if you stack a relatively expensive team, normally you're going to be able to mix in a bat or two that's cheap. You can easily find a cheap secondary stack. There's plenty of cheap SP2s you can use if you need to fit them in with, fit him in with a more expensive team as well. So I do like Joe Ryan quite a bit. His 33% ownership here. So there's 3 guys that are right now like at the top, in the top 5 guys in top stack or top 2 pitcher percentage. Gossman, Ryan, and Darvish are pulling 24, 33, and 33% ownership. Joe Ryan's the only one of those 3 that makes sense to me. He's still going over-owned technically, but again, you're not actually looking to build the optimal lineup in MLB because it's just never going to happen. So having, one guy being over-owned isn't the end of the world. He projects really well. It's a really good spot. We have him second behind Gossman in projection. So I do like Joe Ryan quite a bit here.
All right. Me too. What's your level of interest in the bats?
The Minnesota side looks pretty solid going up against Tyler Alexander. Limited sample this year, 160 expected ISO to righties, 199 since the start of last year. And Minnesota's still very inexpensive. Byron Buxton's the only hitter in the lineup or in the projected lineup that costs more than $4,300 on DraftKings. Correa being second at $4,300. Everybody else is $3,400 or less. Donovan Solano projected to lead off again at $2,400. Now, I hate that he's first base only because despite what he did yesterday, he typically is not a power hitter, but he's still really cheap. Kirilloff, lefty, but $3,200, perfectly fine. Kyle Farmer, MPE, $2,700. Royce Lewis, third base only is annoying, but still at $3,400, a really good value option. I like the Twins quite a bit. Our top stack percentage on them is probably messed up because I don't think we have a line right now.
Okay.
No, I guess so. We have them with a 3.5% chance of being the top stack. I don't know if we got a line or not. But either way, we have them high up in top value percentage. They are going to be they're going to look like a good value stack today. As far as the Detroit side, I am good. Kerry Carpenter is always fine. He has power, but 14 game slate. If I recommend playing Detroit, I may as well just say to play every single team.
That's true. All right. How would you rank the four sides of the game?
Ryan, Minnesota, I guess Tigers and then Alexander. Maybe Alexander and then Tigers. Neither one.
Okay. Rezkill says, "Go ahead and make your dong pick, Neil." No, I'm going to wait till the end of the show. I'm going to keep the suspense going. Which twin is Neil going to pick? Also, I just want to pull this up real quick. Beaten Cheeks, is this you here? This third place, is this the right contest? I think I found the right contest. Nice job here. So 48.65 Heine. I assume that is Heine in the name here. Beaten Cheeks. All right, I think things are adding up here. The first lineup that has a positive simulated ROI here, third place overall. That's awesome to see. Congrats there. Just wanted to pull that up, give a quick look at his lineup since he used the Sims tool to get there. All right. Next up, we have Pittsburgh at Milwaukee. Rich Hill on the mound for the Pirates. Julio Teheran for the Brewers. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
I mean, I have no idea what to say about Julio Teheran at this point. I still refuse to believe this guy's any good. I'm not playing him at 8,300. If that burns me again, it burns me again. Rich Hill's the really interesting one to talk about here. I mentioned it earlier. He's getting 13% ownership right now at 6,700. I get it. He's cheap. The Brewers strike out a lot. I think he's a perfectly fine play. I just don't. There's other guys in this price range that are getting no ownership that should be if you're going there. So and Schuster's the one that really stands out. We have Rich Hill with an 8% chance of being a top two pitcher. We have Schuster at 6.5%. Very similar chances of being top two value pitchers, obviously, since they're the same price. And you're getting a 6-to-1 ownership discount on Schuster. So I do expect you see that ownership come down on Hill and come up on Schuster probably. But either way, he's okay as a secondary option if you need to get there. He is striking out 21% of righties this year. He is also giving up a 240 expected ISO to righties, striking out 22% of lefties, giving up no power there. Milwaukee's projected lineup is almost entirely right-handed. Christian Yelich, the only left-handed bat. It is a tough, it's a good hitter's park as well. So it's a scary matchup for Hill. Again, I don't think he should be this guy that people are apparently looking to get to, but there is upside for him. There's also a lot of upside for Milwaukee.
Yep. With that in mind, how much interest do you have in the bats here?
I think Milwaukee's a pretty interesting tournament stack. This is one of those teams where their implied run total isn't very appealing. We only have them with a 2.5% chance of being the top stack. It's just that when they come through, it's likely to be in a way that's conducive for fantasy, just because Hill does give up a lot of power. 240 expected ISO to righties, 377 expected WOBA. If you go back to last year, it's a 203 expected ISO to righties. And you don't have the best righties in this lineup, but you do have William Contreras is a very good catcher option. Adames is a very good shortstop option. Joey Weimer is cheap and potentially hitting towards the top of the order. Owen Miller has MPE at the top of the order. So I think that it's a nice combination of value and home run upside. So whether you want a 5-man stack or just be mixing in, Contreras, Adames, Weimer, stuff like that, I think that it can be a pretty useful team. As far as the Pirates go, I said it before, I have no idea what to make of Julio Teheran. I don't expect him to be good. He's only struck out 17% of hitters in his first few starts back. 17% of righties, 19% of lefties. He hasn't given up much power so far. 154 expected ISO to lefties, 149 to righties. But again, you're talking about a sample size of 350 total pitches from a guy that had pitched himself out of baseball a few years ago and then now is suddenly back and magically getting people out. I still don't buy it. It is a nice park upgrade for the Pirates. I have some interest in, Reynolds has power, Sawinski has power, McCutchen has power, Marcano is free and leading off. Hayes is a high upside bat. So this game to me just seems like it's getting slept on a little bit because the implied run totals aren't very appealing, but there's just uncertainty here where, you have Julio Teheran facing Rich Hill in year 2023. Like, this game can just go nuts offensively.
Absolutely. SMP says, I also have concerns about Hill. Not that it's necessarily actionable, but the Pirates' troglodytic manager. I don't even know what that word means. So congrats for out vocabbing me there. Troglodytic manager let him throw 119 pitches last outing. Generally speaking, I don't think that bodes well considering he's 43 years old. Yeah,
I didn't even realize that.
I didn't either.
That's absurd. And yeah, it's one of those where, like you said, it's not actionable. You're not like going and saying like, oh, we need to bump up all of Milwaukee's projections because Rich Hill threw 119 pitches. But if you're kind of on the fence about stacking Milwaukee and you need something to push you off over the fence, Rich Hill threw almost 120 pitches last time out.
Yeah, that's kind of insane. All right, how would you rank the four sides of this game?
Milwaukee bats, Pirates bats, Rich Hill, Julio Teheran.
Okay, and I also wanted to, Phil still said, does anyone use FanDuel CSV? Couldn't upload yesterday. Think I'm doing something wrong. DraftKings is no problem. Any advice? Have you? Oh, good. I was just going to ask if you've used FanDuel CSV in the past. It would not surprise me if it was just an error on FanDuel site because they have issues sometimes. Did you have something you wanted to?
I was just asking if he meant on the FanDuel site or in the Sims tool.
Oh, I'm assuming that he means on the FanDuel site.
Yeah, I didn't even see where he said
it. He said it in chat just above Red Skittles. Does anyone use FanDuel CSV? Couldn't upload it. So uploading. So I would assume that he means on the FanDuel site. But let us know what you mean, Phil. If you mean in the Sims tool as opposed to on FanDuel specifically, would not surprise me if I haven't. And yes, the site on our site. No, on the FanDuel site, I think he's saying. So
yeah, that one you just you have to go in, click. So like let us know, I guess, where you got hung up at. But it's basically you just go to the live or you go to the upcoming lineups page. You click. It's going to say CSV edit. You click that, choose the slate, click download CSV, copy your lineups in, and then upload that CSV.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, try that. Let us know if you. There's nothing we can do obviously on the FanDuel site, but yeah, it shouldn't be a huge issue there. All right. I got sidetracked. I felt like there's other stuff I want to respond to, but we're going to continue moving on to Cleveland and Arizona. Tristan McKenzie on the mound for the Guardians. Zach Gallen here for the Diamondbacks. What's your level of interest in the pitchers, Adam?
Yeah, Zach Gallen's one of the guys that if his ownership does not change between now and lock, I foresee having a lot of Zach Gallen. Yes, Kevin Gausman's been better this year, but Zach Gallen has a 27% strikeout percentage, 3.3 xFIP, and Gausman is facing the team with a 120 WRC plus against right-handed pitching, while Gallen faces one with an 88 WRC plus against right-handed pitching. Cleveland's active strikeout percentage on their active roster is like 3 points lower than Texas. So Gausman has that working for him, and Gausman does have better strikeout stuff than Gallen, but it's a good spot for Gallen. 3.7 implied run total for Cleveland compared to 4.2 for Texas. And right now we have Gausman, who is $1,000 more expensive, projected to be 6 times as popular. If that's what people are going to do, like if that holds, just give me a lot of Zach Gallen. And if it doesn't hold, like let's say it gets down to 12% Gallen, 16% Gausman, I still really like Gallen there. It's just at that point, like I would probably be playing some Gausman as well. But if you're going to just give me Zach Gallen at a discount and no ownership compared to Gausman, I'm going to have a lot of Zach Gallen.
Yeah, seems like a good spot. What about the bats in this game?
Arizona against McKenzie, tough spot. I actually needed to check because he just came back from the injured list recently. He was going 5 innings in each of his first 2 starts back, 5 against Minnesota, 5 against Houston, 79 pitches against Minnesota, 92 against Houston. So he should be good to go as far as pitch count today, I would assume. Never know for sure. There are still some teams that for whatever reason, think innings matter more than pitches, and are just going to yank him at 5 innings regardless. But I assume that he's just throwing 90 to 100 pitches, and however far he goes, that's how far he goes. So I don't think we should be too concerned about that. He is a solid pitcher. He made some pretty big adjustments last year that cut his walk rate in half. It also lowered his strikeout percentage, but not as drastically. Strikeout percentage in 2021 was 27.5%. Last year, it fell to 25.5%, but his walk percentage dropped from 12% to 6%. FIP went from 4.7 to 3.6. XFIP dropped by like 0.8 of a run. This is a good pitcher at 8,600. He does have a tough matchup. We have him getting 4% ownership right now. I think he's fine as a low-owned contrarian play in tournaments. But as far as the Arizona bats go, not too excited about getting there. They certainly have upside offensively. They're a good offense, but on a 14-game slate, that's the case for a lot of teams. Since the start of last year, 167 expected ISO to lefties, 177 to righties. So again, there is some power upside here. They do have a decent 4.3 implied run total. If you get to, them here and there, it's fine. But it's just kind of one of those teams where I wouldn't be surprised if I don't have them. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm somewhat over the field, considering that they're not getting any ownership. But it's certainly not a matchup I'm going out of my way to target.
All right. And how would you rank the 4 sides of the game?
Gallen, either D-backs or McKenzie, then the other one, then Cleveland.
I do love seeing Sean saying that Josh knows nothing about baseball. Like literally last week, he won the main contest, absolutely crushing baseball. And again, saying that the Marlins are going to fail. That's not like a bold take. Right. Like we've been over this. Like, yeah, it's really clever of you to like say like, oh, this team is going to do poorly in MLB DFS. Most teams are going to do poorly most days.
Like how the hell do you have the Marlins number 2? We have them number 3.
Right. They're anyway.
Which and like I said it when we talked about them. I don't think I personally am quite as high as as everything suggests I should be, but it's pretty obvious that they are one of the more likely teams to succeed.
Yeah, and not getting like they're getting some ownership, but not like crazy high. Still under 10% ownership.
But
I just
5% chance to be in the top stack, so 95% chance Sean is in here tomorrow. Victory lapping.
Right. Anyway, moving on, we have Tampa at San Diego. Shane McClanahan on the mound for the Rays. Yu Darvish for the Pods. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
So Darvish is another one where he's underpriced at 8,100. I think he deserves ownership. That goes without saying. He's still a very good pitcher. He's striking out 26% of hitters this year, 3.8 xFIP. His walk rate is only at 7.5%. He's only allowing one home run per 9 innings. I don't know why he's only 8,100, but he's also getting 33% ownership against the best team in baseball. Tampa Bay comes into this game with a 126 WRC plus against right-handed pitching. They have a 200 ISO. They're only striking out 21.8% of the time. Darvish is a good play. 33% seems really aggressive in this matchup. I don't think there should be a 9-1 or 8-1 difference in ownership between Darvish and McKenzie. You could just pay down further for other, for your SP2 and get better bats. Like, I don't know, tell me he's 15 to 20%. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. 33% seems pretty aggressive. But again, he is underpriced. So I think he's a good play. I just wanted to say, like, this is one of the ownership spots that does concern me a bit.
Yeah.
But, still a good play. McClanahan on the other side, sort of the opposite. Not that he's a bad play, but you have McClanahan, 28% ownership, 3.6 xFIP, 11K. So he's $200 less than Gossman, 6% owned. I like Gallen at $800 less more than I like McClanahan as a Gossman pivot. But, again, if you're going to actually have 4 times the ownership going to Gossman, who projects like 2 points better than McClanahan, I think McClanahan's a really good tournament play.
Okay. Mike Ray like this, but Josh doesn't need to know about baseball. The data is what he knows and what matters. Yeah. I mean, that's like, come at us for our knowledge of the sport. Like I don't know. I clearly don't know as much about actual baseball as Sean V, but like it also, that's not really the game we're playing. Like you need some knowledge does help, I think, but in general, it's a numbers game. All right. What is your level of interest in the bats here in San Diego?
Not high at all. Tampa Bay is somewhat interesting just because they are so good and Yu Darvish is getting a lot of ownership, but 14-game slate, I doubt that I get to much here.
Okay. How would you rank the 4 sides of the game?
Darvish, McClanahan, Tampa, San Diego.
All right. Let's take a look at Sorare now. They are the sponsor of this show. I'm going to pull that up. Hang on one second. Just really quickly. So I have, I have NBA pulled up here. Again, you can play Sorare for free. It is free to join. I forgot. Okay, good. It is today. Starting in 1 hour. So you need to be, if you are interested in signing up for Sorare, you should do it immediately because the next contest does lock in 1 hour. It's a really fun way to play fantasy baseball, and it is free to join. When you sign up at Sorare, you're going to be given your choice between a number of different common cards. You can then enter those common cards into contests where you can win limited cards that you can actually sell on the market. Sometimes limited cards worth like hundreds of dollars. So check it out if you haven't already. It really is a fun way to play fantasy baseball. And again, it is locking in about an hour. I did do a VOD on Sorare yesterday. So if you're, wanted to know what looks good on the slate, check out some of our streams from yesterday. Actually, Greg and I did a live stream on Sorare. I also did a VOD. So if you quickly want to see like what looks good on this slate and start right now, check it out. It really is a fun way to play fantasy baseball. I think, did I win this week? Did I win any prizes? Let's see. Oh, I earned one reward. I guess I'll open that. So it's just a common. I won. I did not win apparently in the limited contest again. I finished like right at the back of the pack in the common contest. So yeah, that's you get an Elvis Andrus when you finish like 25,000th place. Looks like in your best score in the last 4 game weeks. Okay, that's good. How far out did I finish? It doesn't show me how far out I was, but 361st yesterday. So I guess I fell off. I was 3 points away or something entering the day from winning some money. Didn't end up working out there. Anyway, check out Sorare if you haven't already. I believe I just put the link into chat where you can sign up. Did I not? Yes, I did. I put the link into chat, so check it out if you haven't already. All right, we're going to continue on. Get back to this slate. Next up, we have Philadelphia at Oakland. Taijuan Walker on the mound for the Phillies. JP Sears for the A's. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
Solid matchup for Walker. Pulling 6% ownership at 7K. He's, I think, the sort of obvious, or at least one of the obvious JP France pivots if you needed to get off of that ownership for whatever reason. But France does project better. Walker is just sort of an average pitcher. 20% strikeout percentage, 4.6 xFIP. Good park, all of that, good matchup. So don't mind getting him at low ownership here and there in tournaments, but still a secondary option. Sears does have good strikeout stuff. It is a good park. He's one of the guys that I think if like you're just going to play, if the field's going to just go jam in Rich Hill at 6,700, Sears is another guy you could certainly pivot to at 6,800. He does have better strikeout stuff. He is in a good park. 22.8% strikeout percentage so far this year, 4.9 xFIP. So again, not like a ringing endorsement to be made for Sears. It's more so like Rich Hill also isn't very good. But overall, doubt I get to much of either of these pitchers.
Okay. What about the bats in this game?
Yeah, Phillies are somewhat interesting, but this park also just sucks. Sears is allowing a 248 expected ISO to righties this year, only 118 to lefties. Weirdly, he is striking out righties 25% of the time compared to 13% to lefties. But, Trey Turner, Nick Castellanos, JT Realmuto, Alec Boehm, those guys are all pretty high upside plays here. And then it goes without saying Kyle Schwarber and maybe Bryce Harper are high upside plays. I don't really know how physically healthy Bryce Harper is, but Schwarber at the very least, the point being, if you're stacking the Phillies, don't just skip over the 2 best hitters in their lineup. But right. The right-handed power here certainly looks good. The park sucks though. Like if this game were in Philly, you probably have like a 5.2 implied 5 to 5.2 implied run total, and you're talking about how great Nick Castellanos looks and all of that. Here it's like, yeah, well they look good, but be prepared to be pissed off for a bunch of balls to get crushed and then caught on the warning track.
Okay. How would you rank the 4 sides of the game?
Phillies, Walker. I guess I'm going to go A's and then Sears because Oakland has been turning into my Kansas City where I just have them because they're so cheap.
Okay. R. Stanley asks, Neil, are you going to do best ball lineups? I think I will be doing some best ball live streams. We're going to start doing best ball content next week. So if you're interested in best ball, keep your eyes out, because we're going to be doing a lot of best ball content on the channel. Still figuring out exactly what we can do, how much time I'm going to have to do some best ball. But yeah, really looking forward to starting to do some best ball content. I thought I had other stuff to respond to, but we need to continue moving on. San Francisco at Los Angeles. We have John Brebbia on the mound for the Giants, Matt Andreas for the Dodgers. Any interest in these pitchers?
Wait, who for the Dodgers are going with Emmett Sheehan?
Oh, we have them listed. We have in Fantasy Crunch, we have Matt Andriese listed, but
oh god, I didn't even know that guy was still in the majors.
I don't even know who that is.
He pitched for Tampa a while ago.
Okay.
But yeah, the Dodgers announced they're bringing up Emmett Sheehan from
All right. Well, then, is he in the player pool?
No, which really sucks.
Yeah, it's a bummer. All right. Well, then, any interest in Brebbia?
No, he's opening. You're gonna get Sean Manaea behind him, probably. Manaea's 5,700. There's strikeout upside there. He's cheap. Just Manaea will be another one of these where, like, yeah, he should be 6,500 probably, but he's facing the Dodgers. I don't want to get there. Certainly, as an aside, definitely not on FanDuel because he's not starting the game. But on DraftKings, like, you could. I doubt that I will.
Okay. What about the bets here?
So San Francisco's in a weird spot where they're facing a guy making his first professional appearance above the AA level, but that pitcher has also been absolutely lights out at AA. 41.7% strikeout percentage in 53 and a third innings at AA this year, 3.19 xFIP. The Giants have been a good offense this year. They're somewhat interesting in tournaments just because it's this guy making his first ever appearance at advanced professional baseball. So, like, it can go real wrong real fast. And the Dodgers also don't have the best bullpen. It has been worked a bit recently. So there is a lot of upside here for the Giants, but still only a 4.2 implied run total. That certainly kind of pushes things towards the Sheehan's probably good side of the equation. On the other side, though, for the Dodgers, does look pretty good for them. 4.8 implied run total. Manaea gives up power. That's a big reason why he's not starting games anymore. 227 expected ISO to righties, 215 to lefties. He gets strikeouts, he gives up power. So that's why, like, I think he's somewhat interesting as an SP2 on DraftKings, but it also makes the Dodgers very interesting when you're getting Betts, Freeman, Smith, Martinez, and then a bunch of cheap dudes that have some power against Manaea. So I do like the Dodgers quite a bit. We have them right now in stack score coming in very low, but that's in large part because they're low in value percentage. But as a stack, it's actually not that much of a problem. Like, if you're going to Betts, Freeman, Smith, Martinez, yeah, those guys are all expensive, but you can mix in Miguel Vargas at 3,200, Chris Taylor at 3,100, and, you know, not lose all, like, you still have upside from those guys, and it does balance out the stack. So I think they're a little bit easier to get to than maybe the top stack school is reflecting right now.
Okay. How would you rank the four sides of the game?
Dodgers, Giants, Manaea.
SMP asked, do we think there's any chance Sheehan gets added? I know that very rarely happens, but is it possible?
I doubt it.
Yeah, like they do it. They've done it occasionally, like for like MMA or like for, I've seen it happen before with DraftKings. Yeah. Like they have the ability to add a player, but I doubt they'll do it this late.
Yeah, they and generally they haven't with baseball. Like, this isn't the first time this year that we've had somebody get called up and not be in the player pool. If they do, that would be cool. But I kind of hope they don't, because it's going to be 4K and it's going to be really annoying to figure out what to do with them.
Yeah, true. All right. Final game of the slate, we have Chicago at Seattle. Michael Kopech on the mound for the White Sox. Brian Wu for the Mariners. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
Yeah, both of them. Brian Wu is the best value pitcher today. 2 starts so far, 6 and 2/3 for Seattle since coming up from AA earlier in the year. The strikeout stuff's played so far in the majors. Again, you're talking about 6 and 2/3 innings pitched. But he threw 81 pitches last time out. So 2 innings pitched, 47 pitches in his first outing, 4 and 2/3, 81 pitches last time out. So I don't think we need to be overly concerned about his workload here. He made 9 starts at AA this year, 44 innings pitched, struck out 34% of hitters, 2.78 FIP at AA. You know, again, obviously it's a big gap between AA and the majors, but 3.5 implied run total for the White Sox, 5,400 on Wu. I kind of, considering the value, standpoint, I think it's going a little bit under owned at 23%, especially because like when you look at the other pitchers that are getting a lot of ownership, and I kind of already mentioned it, but Gossman's ownership scares me a lot. Like I think he's getting too much ownership compared to the pitchers around him. Joe Ryan going over owned, but whatever. It's Detroit. I'm fine with that ownership. Darvish, hate the matchup. If 1/3 of the field's playing him, that's concerning. JP France, like good play. 21% ownership for a pitcher that isn't actually very good is always a little bit concerning. Wu makes sense to me. He's 5,400. He's got really good strikeout stuff. At that price tag, he doesn't have to be perfect. He can give up 3-4 runs here and still be fine. And you're going to be able to get whatever bats you want along with whatever, other pitcher you want. So I do really like Brian Wu here as a value option. On the other side, we have Kopech getting 9% ownership at 9,300, 6th in top 2 pitcher percentage, kind of in no man's land from a pricing standpoint where either like you're going to prefer getting up to the Ryan, Gossman, Gallen, McClanahan range, or in a lot of lineups, a lot of builds, you're going to be able to improve your lineup, improve your upside by going from 9,300 down to like Darvish or France or something like that. So kind of no man's land there, but we have seen him really turn things around from a strikeout standpoint. There was speculation he was tipping pitches earlier in the year, and over his last 5 starts, no less than 6 strikeouts in any of them. At least 9 in 4 of them. Last time out, 5 innings, 100 pitches, 6 strikeouts against Miami. The strikeout stuff has, really turned around, and he has been very good. Good park to pitch in. Not the best matchup against the Mariners, but, still like a league average offense. So I think Kopech's fine in tournaments, but probably kind of tough to get to at that price. I think Brian Wu at 5,400 is absolutely a priority.
Okay. How about the bats in this game?
No. If the case for them would be Seattle has good hitters and a lot of power, and maybe Kopech's improvement isn't real and he starts giving up a bunch of power again. He has allowed a 201 expected ISO to righties this year, 243 to lefties. So that's the case for the Mariners. The case for the White Sox is this dude's thrown 6 innings above AA in his entire life. But that being said, 14-game slate, probably just not going to get to him.
Okay. How would you rank the 4 sides of the game?
Brian Wu, Michael Kopech, Seattle, Chicago.
All right. Well, we made it through all 14 games. Adam, who are your 3 favorite stacks?
At Atlanta, with the caveat that I'm still a little worried their ownership gets out of control. Angels, Toronto.
3 favorite pitchers.
Joe Ryan, Brian Wu, and Zach Gallen.
Home run pick.
Tough slate for home run. There are just, this is another one where like there's not a lot of pitcher sparks and there's not a lot of terrible pitching. I'll go with Olsen.
I am going to go with a twin here who is not at the very top of the top batters to a home run odds, but he is up there. Byron Buxton against Tyler Alexander has a 27% chance of hitting a home run. I like that. Wait, sorry, who did you pick?
I went Matt Olson, but I like Buxton.
Matt Olson is actually the top of our home run picks model. Really? 33% chance of hitting a home run today. Looks good there. We had somebody ask who are the best catcher options. Let me just look real quick. Who has the best odds of being a top value or top scorer in terms of catchers? Sean Murphy for Atlanta is number 1. JT Realmuto number 2. Will Smith number 3 in terms of top fantasy score odds. Looks like Austin Hedges is top fantasy points per dollar odds. So he looks, if you need a cheap catcher at 2,100, he looks pretty good. All right. What do you have going on today, Adam? Do you have any final words?
Baseball article will be out as soon as I get done writing about 14 baseball games. Bet Pro video will be out in the next hour or two, and I'll be back at 4:45 with, I think, Josh to talk about how good the Marlins are on the deeper dive.
Oh, that'll be fun. And then I am going to be on Live Before Lock with Greg, I assume. I haven't looked. I'm pretty sure I'm on Live Before Lock with Greg later. So check us out there. I'll also be doing a lineup generator VOD this afternoon. So if you're interested in using lineup generator, seeing what I'm doing today, check out that VOD as well. Come out sometime this afternoon. Thank you guys so much for sticking with us. And also, if you have not hit the like button, please do like the video for us. Helps us out a lot. Good luck today.